Hello, I'm William Sanchez, and this is the Philosophical Rebellion Substack. The 1%'s wealth surged to an all-time high of $44 trillion, and corporate profits are also at an all-time high, with profit margins increasing dramatically, meaning what we have been assuming is inflation is actually corporations price gouging. Every new billionaire under 30 years old inherited their wealth, and that is at a time when the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out with the median salary for an American worker, and that median salary was just under $50,000 a year. So imagine you make $50,000 a year. No, imagine you make $100,000 a year. After a decade of making $100,000 a year, you would have made $1 million. After 5 decades of making $100,000 a year, you would have made $5 million. So the vast majority of workers in America are on track to make less than $5 million in their entire working career. But there are some members of our society who treat $5 million like it's nothing. And these people are so disconnected from the real world that they have all of these delusional beliefs about money. Unfortunately, that includes most members of the United States government, the media, think tanks, lobbyists, academic elites, and CEOs. Basically, all of the people who control our society. That means most of the people who are in leadership positions in our society are very disconnected from the normal lives of working people. And that's one of the biggest issues inside of America now. The elites live in extreme opulence, with everything they ever want or need handed to them, or they could just go out and buy it with no concern at all for how much it costs. So in America, we have a situation where the working class lives paycheck to paycheck and most cannot afford a $500 emergency expense without putting it on a credit card. And at the same time, you have somebody like Jeff Bezos building such a luxurious mega yacht that they cannot get it out of the port it is being built in because it is too big to fit underneath a bridge. So he thinks it's a legitimate option to deconstruct and then reconstruct the bridge because money is nothing but an afterthought to these people. They have so much of it, they are the most greedy, self-indulgent, entitled people in the entire world. And they are giving rise to a generation of aristocrats inheriting all that wealth. So I've thought of a few changes which I think would dramatically improve the economic conditions of the working class at the expense of the 1%. And that includes a CEO to worker pay ratio maxed at 100-to-1 for Fortune 500 companies, with a 90% tax rate for any corporation with over $100 million in profit that has more than 5% of their full-time workforce enrolled in welfare. Because if the American government is going to subsidize the workforce for these corporations, the American government should also be receiving the tax benefit of those corporations. Which is actually my next point. We need a truly progressive tax system to tax workers at the lowest end of the income spectrum, the lowest rate, then slowly increase it for people making in the low hundreds of thousands of dollars, the low millions of dollars, the low tens of millions of dollars, then have the highest tax rates for corporations and humans earning more than $1 billion a year. We could essentially eliminate the tax burden on all the people making the median salary if we just had corporations pay their fair share by merging the tax brackets for corporations, capital gains, and ordinary income. Then we need to change the laws regarding stock buybacks. And I think any money a corporation spends on stock buybacks should be matched with an increased bonus for workers, as well as a tax on stock buybacks. We also need to break up monopolies in the American economy so that corporations cannot price gouge but instead are forced to lower their prices to remain competitive. And we also need to end the political activity of corporations by passing something like Bernie Sanders' Saving American Democracy constitutional amendment, which would make it clear that corporations are not people and are not entitled to human rights under our Constitution. And I believe in an inheritance tax, because although I want families to be able to pass down wealth from generation to generation, there is a level of inherited wealth which is not sustainable in society. And we are definitely at that point. So I think that over $5 million, more than most Americans will make in their entire working career, there should be a 25% inheritance tax, which would then increase to 50% at $50 million, then to 70% at $100 million, then to 90% at $500 million. Then finally, over $1 billion, there should be a 95% inheritance tax. And I also wouldn't mind if they were to revoke their citizenship and instead pay a 90% exit tax. But mainly, I just want to restore fairness to our economy. And the main things that capitalism has lost under trickle-down economics is fairness and a basic sense of morality. And I view the unending greed of the 1% to be the biggest moral failure in the modern economy. And the inequality between the working class and the economic elites has reached the pinnacle of unfairness. And one of the prime examples is Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk through SpaceX and Amazon fighting against the rights of workers to unionize. So even though the 1% have never had it so good and have never had the opportunity to take in such a large portion of the wealth created by the working class, that is still not enough for them and they want more. So if you are a normal American on track to make less than $5 million in your entire career, then there are people out there trying to steal your money from you. And those people are the economic elites. So we live in a time where 3 people, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Larry Ellison, own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. And if you take into account the entire top 1%, they own more wealth than the bottom 90%. Yet for some reason, class warfare is completely wiped out of our media and our political dialogue. And that is just absolutely insane, because class warfare is one of the most important political issues going on inside of America today. And the 1% have dominated in the last 50 years of class warfare. So it is time for the working class to reinvigorate the labor movement and start fighting back.